Okay, the next thing we need to do is set up the collision between the snowman and the object, the tomato, as the snowman moves around the maze. So let's open up our snowman. Now we need to add an event, and we're going to add a collision, and that's going to be with the tomato. Okay, so what happens when it makes the tomato? Well, first of all, we want it to delete instance. But what do we want to delete? We don't want to delete the snowman because it needs to play on. So it's got to delete the other item in the collision. So the tomato is the other item, but it'll only delete that instance. It won't delete all the tomatoes. If you choose the object tomato, then as soon as you have one collision, it will wipe out all the tomatoes on your maze. Whereas if you choose the other in the collision, it means it will only destroy the tomato you've collided with, which is what we want. So that's the first thing we need to do. The second thing is we're going to make a sound. And the first thing we need to do is get a sound. So we need to create a sound. So we do that. We click on this one to choose a file. And I'm going to go back to those resources that I've sent out to you. Okay, so here we are here. I'm going into the first folder. I'm going into sounds, going into effects, and what I am going to choose is just having a look here. Oh, I know what it's called. It's called success. There we go. So I'm going to rename it SND underscore success, and there's my sound. Alright, so let's come back. Now to get this back up here, it's gone up the screen, just use your scroll and scroll it, and it will scroll down. It will scroll, so use the scroll on your mouse and it will scroll down, or should. Scroll down to where you want it. Okay, we'll just take that up a bit. We're just going to scroll that down a bit further. Just scrolling away there. Good. And I've destroyed the instance. I'm going to add a sound. So if we move down here a little bit further, we get to audio, and it says play a sound. The sound we want is the success. We don't want to loop it, and we don't want anything else, we just want to play it. Now the other thing we need to do is the score. So we need to add a score. So what we can do then is just run down here. Where are we? To instance variables, and that's the score. So we drag the score across. We want to set the score at 10 points for every tomato it picks up. Oops, let's try 10. We want it relative too, because that means it keeps adding 10 each time it hits a tomato. If you don't click that, it will just stay on 10, which is pointless. So make sure you click the relative to keep adding the tens. The other thing you need to do is to make sure that it's applied to self. In other words, it's going to be the score that relates to the snowman. Okay, now that's all we have to do here. So that's good, that's done. So we can now close that. Now the next thing we have to do is, there's two things actually, so let's have a look at room 0. Two things in fact we've already done is I've made a sprite and an object called a door and a fire. So the door is the gateway, if you like, and the fire is the location of the portal that will take us to the next level. We'll deal with that in just a moment. Now, what we need to do here is we need to put the score on the screen. To do that, we have to make a new object. So we create one. It's going to be an invisible object. It's going to be visible rather, but it's not going to be solid. And we're going to call it object sound. And all it is I beg your pardon, score. And all it is an object that's going to display the score. So let's have a look at our event. The event we have to do with this is a drawing event. And we want to draw a graphic user interface, or a GUI. So we click on GUI. And what do we want to do in the GUI? We want to draw a score. So we go down to drawing and we find our draw instant score. We drag that on there. So it will type score, colon, space, and then put the actual number of the score in. Now we can have it following around something, but I want it to just stick up into the top left hand corner of the screen. Now if I go to my room, and let's have a quick look here. Yes, it is going to look. I want it to be about here, somewhere around here. And if I look down the bottom here at this measurement, come back here, it says about x is 33, y is 13. Okay, that sounds good. So I want x is 33, y is 13. That's about where I want it. The other thing I've got to make sure is that it's the score of the snowman that I'm putting up there, not the score of itself, because that'll be nothing, because we haven't done anything to the score of this object here. So it has to be to the score of the object snowman. Okay, now that should pretty well have set our up to run. So we're going to save our project in case disaster happens and it doesn't work. The next thing we're going to do is run it. And off we go. And as you can hear, there's a sound going there. So that is proceeding just as we want it. And that is how to get your object moving around and the score. But the score hasn't appeared, which is a bit of a problem. And I've just realized why. So let's stop this, go back to our room. Alright, the reason our score hasn't appeared is I didn't put the object on the in the room, and that means that of course it won't appear. So let's try it again. We're running now. This time the score does appear. Now as we move around and get our tomatoes, you should notice that the score goes up by 10. So that is how we get our snowman moving around, picking up tomatoes. The tomatoes disappear and the score increases by 10 each time.